This is Phil, Animal Mentality, and this is a new episode of the Animal Pakcast, Animals Podcast. I'm here with special guest, Staff Sergeant Danny Jakab, United States Air Force. He's stationed right here at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, 23-year-old bodybuilder who made the Air Force his career. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Not at all. It's great to have you. There are so many questions that I have for you, and I don't know that we can squeeze it into 30 minutes, but we'll give it a shot. I think the theme for today that I'd like to explore is this idea of support. Now, I can't say I know much about the military, having never served, but I imagine the support network that's needed there is in many ways similar to the support network you need as a bodybuilder to succeed. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's one of those things where you have to kind of look at the differences of bodybuilding and the military. Obviously, they're completely different things, right? But there's a lot of concepts that you could carry over between the two. With the military, you have to have support, obviously, of your colleagues and your team members to make sure that you get the mission done. On the same end, when you're at work, whether you're at home station or deployed, you have to have a support system that helps you be emotionally and physically, spiritually happy at all times, you know? And it's one of those things where I definitely bring up deployment, keeping a healthy mindset. You're going through a lot of different things. And sometimes those things can make you feel stressed and fatigued and and wear you down. But having a support system there to help you is extremely important, whether it's your family and a couple of your close friends there just to listen to you. And it's a lot easier to deal with a lot of those things that you go through when you have that support system of those couple friends, your family members there just to listen to you. Whether it's once or twice a week, even so, just talking to them a couple of times is a lot better than holding it all in.
Oh, sure.
And it's the same thing with bodybuilding. I mean, bodybuilding is an extremely selfish sport. Everyone knows that. It's not a team sport. You don't have team members to rely on. You're in the gym by yourself, training on body parts that are part of yourself. And you're going to be in the gym, you're going to be training. When you have a training partner or whether you don't have a training partner, you're still going to push yourself to the maximum extent. Now, having someone there to listen to you when you have questions about nutrition, training, injuries, this or that, it's super important to have a support system. I mean, how are you going to progress? How are you going to tweak your body to make sure it's at its absolute peak capacity for a stage without having a support system? You're not. Whether you think you know everything or not, there's always someone that has more knowledge on the topic more than you. And that support system comes into play when that all plays a role.
Sure. So let's start with your service in the Air Force and then maybe bodybuilding. Is there one area of your life when it comes to the military that you think really, really demands that kind of support you described? Is that like one topic or one area?
Like I said, in the military, the one time I really need that support, honestly, is when I'm overseas and deployed. And we don't, I'm not going to go into the characteristics of things we do when deployed because, it's one of those things where it's my job safety. But at the same time, what I will say is being far, far away from your family and friends and sometimes feeling like isolated or feeling like, you're by yourself. You want to talk to someone. You want to talk to a girlfriend. You want to talk to a close friend of yours. You want to talk to your mom or your dad. And those are the times where that support is crucial because you don't want to feel like you're alone. You may seem like you have hundreds of thousands of people that support you because your social media account has so, but that doesn't mean anything. Because, do you think those hundreds of thousands of followers or friends or likes or comments are going to be there for you when you actually need it?
Of course not, right. No. So you're talking about a kind of a real physical contact, maybe by phone or some other way that you contact them when you're deployed?
Yeah. So thankfully, now in today's age, 2019, we have technology to where we can literally go into our rooms or even on base to where we're at, where we have Wi-Fi capability. Not saying that everywhere in the location, because there's definitely areas that I know my friends are at that are intense eating MREs, but where we specifically go to as far as my job goes, we have the capability to be able to send Facebook message, Skype, FaceTime, and all that stuff. And what's crazy is that even sometimes like when, you get there and you want to kind of just write down your thoughts, what I do is I actually write down a letter and I send it home because I think of like, what did people do 10 years ago or 11 years ago, 12 years ago before there was any of this Skype and they try to call or they sent letters back in times that's all people do is write letters to each other. So that's what I do. I jot down my thoughts and I write a letter to think like, hey, I could do what they used to do back in the day. Although I have the means to do it over online, let me just write a letter down because it's a lot more meaningful. You have a piece of paper with all your thoughts and all the things that you're going through down on in a mailed envelope.
And do you have the flexibility to use those technologies to get in touch with your family or friends pretty much any time as long as you are off duty?
Yeah. So depending on, obviously our missions are spread out depending on our flying schedule. But when we're not flying and we're off the clock and we're in crew rest, which basically means we're just preparing to fly for the next day. That's our own time to do whatever we want. Obviously, get a required rest and everything, but that's the time where we get the time to get the gym in, talk to our families, get the food down, get some sun in if you're in a time where you can get some sunshine in. So it's one of those times where in your off-duty time, you can do whatever you want with it. And that's how people honestly better themselves and keep themselves mentally clear, is how you manage that off time when you're not on duty.
Right. So that's interesting. And this kind of connection to your family and friends back home is vital. In what ways does your relationships with your colleagues when you're deployed, I know they become sort of your second family, but the relationships are very different, right? And it's not the same thing.
It's crazy to think that you can get so close with people that aren't blood with you when you're deployed.
Yeah,
because for me, in my specific career field, I deploy with 2 pilots, an engineer, and me, which is a boom operator. That's a standard crew of 4 people. These 4 people stay in a room together literally every day and go on fly missions every other day, every day. And these 4 people you're literally eating with, you're flying with, you're using the same bathroom, you're sharing a living space with, a confined area with. You get to know them really well. You talk about their families. You talk about what makes them happy, what makes them sad, and almost like they become your family. And some of the best friends I've ever made in my life through the military were while I was deployed, because seeing people's true colors, because you're around them 24/7, is something incredible. And I think that's like the coolest thing, is to really see, pilots and engineers and just what they are on the outside of work, not just their flying. Because when you're stateside, you see their side of the military side, what they are like at work. And sometimes you don't even hang out with them outside of work when you're home station. When you're deployed, guess what? You're literally stuck with each other.
Right.
Some things may know you about them, some things you may like, but at the end of the day, you get to know them really well. Yeah. And those good qualities and those good aspects of them, you'll never forget.
And I would also think, right, that those friends that you make in the military, you're counting on them for your own well-being, both mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, of course, right? And so that, I would imagine, develops a kind of relationship where you're counting on them to help you live and survive, is different than out in the civilian world, right?
Yeah. So in the civilian world, like I said, I'm not going to compare it to a specific job. Every job is different. In the civilian world, a lot of these jobs are self-reliant, where you work at a desk and you have a boss and a boss ahead of that, and so forth. And when you're in a certain job, like with mine, you have a constant support system to where, we know what the mission is. We have to fly it, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that we have a mission, sometimes it's going into certain airspaces which aren't the safest, and we know we're going into countries that aren't the safest. We know we have our own backs. Like, all right, are you guys ready to fly today? Did you guys experience anything in the last 24 hours that makes you inhibit to fly? We always check on each other. Are you fed? Did you get enough sleep? And those things are just like common, like secondhand nature. So we don't even think about it. We do it to make sure that we can get the mission done safely.
So you've got to find yourself in situations when you're not deployed and you're off base, and you're thinking to your non-military friend, hey, I need you to watch my back, or, something like that, where you have high expectations and they don't meet it in the same way as some of your military friends. Does that cause frustration, or that really never happens for you?
It's funny you say that, because when I sometimes I expect certain things to be done by certain people, like in the civilian world with me, not my closest friends, but just people I know. Like I expect something to be done. Like, hey, I ask them to do me a favor, and I expect it by a certain time.
And to be prompt, right?
And to be prompt, like, hey man, like I need this done at this time. Like, I have to be picked up from this place at this point, and they don't show up, or they make an excuse. I'm like, this wouldn't fly like in my job. Like I don't do it. Like for me, I'm always 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
Like if you tell me be somewhere at 8, I'll be there at 7:45.
Like this morning, you were here 15 minutes early. Yeah, that was great.
That's what it's like, because like the military teaches you that stuff. And I'm not saying, you don't get taught that in the regular civilian world. It's just one of those things where you're mentally clicked to where if someone tells you something and they expect something of you, I expect you to be there. And that's how I am. If you tell me something, I'll take your word for it. But next time I ask you something, I'll probably in my mind tell myself that you might not be there.
So it does make it challenging, I guess, to make friends outside of the military space, right?
I'm extremely, extremely picky with people I call friends. I have hundreds of people, thousands of people I can say I'm acquainted to, that some may even consider me as their friend. But to me, to call you a friend on my end is a huge deal. It means I embed my trust in you. If I called you at 1 a.m. and I needed help, you'd be there to help me. And that's why, like, I could count on my hand how many of those friends.
So you do have friends like that, though?
I do. And I'm so thankful I do. I need to.
And are those friends also in the world of your bodybuilding, or are they different friends?
No, actually, a couple of those my close friends are in the bodybuilding community. Actually, my coach is one of those people who I've known for since I've been here in New Jersey. And my other buddy, John, who's also in New Jersey with me, he's into fitness. He lifts with me anytime that he can. But you take out the bodybuilding and fitness portion of it, he's still there just like as a brother to me. But it's awesome that we could connect on the fitness level, because everything I experience, he knows and he gets. My whole last prep for my last show, he lifted with me every single day from 12 weeks out to on stage. He saw me through my best of moods to where I didn't talk to him the whole workout.
Yeah, sure. But he understands that process.
And he was there. Like, he pushed me like, hey, stop whining, stop bitching about this. Like, let's go. Like, all these, like, and for someone to see that and not get like upset or butthurt just because I'm so low carb and I'm so depleted, like in a bodybuilding sense, many people don't understand that. People are like, oh, he's just angry because he's meathead. No, it's when you're dying down, it's like, it takes a lot for someone to understand it. So he understands your moods. Yeah, he understands that portion. But like I said, take away that whole bodybuilding portion. It's like, who's there if I needed to call him? He would answer the phone. Oh, okay. And that's
true friends. Yeah. So the friend you're describing now, he's into bodybuilding, but he's not in the military, right?
No, both of them aren't in the military. And I've said before earlier that I made a lot of my closest friends in the military, and a lot of those people aren't here anymore because they got out or they moved. At the same time, I like to, when I'm not on duty. Not saying I don't like to be around military, but I have to get kind of away from the military itself to give me a little woosah. Like, okay, I'm off, like woosah, like a little like, whew. Like I've had enough of, I've had enough of, 7:30 to 4:30 of, hey, Sergeant Jakab all day, and that's fine. It's part of the job. I understand what my job consists of, but then when I'm off duty, I want to be away from the military because now it's time to go lift. It's time to go eat. It's time to be Danny for a minute and not Staff Sergeant Jakab. I'm still an airman on the outside, but I'm still also a person when I get off duty. Yeah. So when I'm off duty, I want to surround myself with people that aren't going to talk about work, are just going to hear me out and listen to me talk about my problems. Right. So
it's the mindset that you carry over, whether it's in the, military or the non-military sphere, right? Which is this mindset developed by years of discipline and sacrifice. So I would assume that when you're talking to your best friend who's not in the military, because he's in bodybuilding, he'll still understand a lot of the things you go through in the military. Because to me, I've always thought bodybuilding and the military and serving were very similar in many ways. Is that right? He just naturally understands that part because of what he does as a bodybuilder?
Yeah, no, he understands it. He has friends. Actually, one of his other close friends is also an ex-Army soldier. So he understands the lifestyle. But more or less, it's just listening to me over the last 4 years of my job. He kind of got to understand why I am molded, why I am the way I am, why I talk the way I do, why my timing is the way it is, why my mood is the way it is sometimes. And I think it just took being around me so many years to understanding who Danny is for him to realize hey man, I get why you train the way you do. I get why some days you come in and you are a certain way, or I get why you maybe are a little overwhelmed a week before you deploy because you have so many things going on. But he just seeing that through a third person aspect eye from the outside, he kind of understood like, hey, I get it, man. I get you're stressed. I get that military has made you stressed out a little bit about certain things, maybe responsibility wise, or just preparing for deployment, or hey, having 2 weeks notice to go to the Middle East. So, but
okay. Well, you asked a rhetorical question to yourself. Who is Danny? And so, can I turn to that real quick? As I understand it, you joined the Air Force back in the summer of 2013, but you started seriously lifting only in February of 2014. Is that right? So you got into the military first and then bodybuilding second. What's that about?
So kind of give you a little background on that. I lived and breathed lacrosse in high school, believe it or not. Completely different than bodybuilding. But
that was here in New Jersey?
No, that was in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
That was right before obviously I joined the Air Force. All in high school, I played lacrosse.
I imagine lacrosse is big in Connecticut, like huge, New York and New Jersey.
Huge in Connecticut. It's a powerhouse in Connecticut. Same thing, Long Island, and it's getting bigger in New Jersey.
Yeah, Long Island is huge.
But besides the point, that was my passion of playing college. I got recruited by colleges I wanted to get recruited by, and basically, long story short, my dad didn't want me to be going to an Ivy League school paying back loans. Even though they're going to give me some money for sports, I would be paying out my ass for loans for years on.
So you had a chance to play lacrosse at one of the Ivy League schools.
Yeah, I had a chance at that.
Can you mention which ones or not really?
Villanova was
great school
up there, and then Dartmouth recruited me at my sophomore year when I went to this
also
lacrosse
great
showcase.
School. Yeah.
So, but anyways, besides the point, my dad was like, "No way! Like, I'm sorry. Like, I love you, but I want you to be smart. Like, are you just doing it to be on ESPN for 4 years and make a highlight reel and then realize how much money you owe and maybe get a job out of college? Because not everyone at the time was getting jobs straight out of college. Or are you want to set something up for your future? Maybe go to a more affordable college, or maybe think about the military." And then when he said military, he said that because I did Air Force Junior ROTC in high school, which is a class you take.
Right.
And I did that all 4 years. And it basically teaches you the basic Air Force fundamentals, core values, and kind of the history behind the Air Force.
Did your dad encourage you to do that? And was he in the military?
No. So I'm not. I was actually the first person in my entire family to join the military. I saw when I was in middle school, they talked about it to you when you're transitioning to go to high school about this program. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I did it. And I'm not going to lie, the first couple of years, I didn't like it because I had to wear a uniform on Wednesdays and I thought it was tacky and people made fun of me.
Many of your classmates did.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're wearing a uniform. It's so stupid, blah, blah, blah on Wednesdays. And it's like, after a while, I just stopped caring because I was like, the class itself was really cool. I got really close to my instructors. And they kind of were like my biggest influencers for me to join the military because one of my instructors was a retired master sergeant, pararescueman, which is a special force job. And his knowledge on the Air Force and his experiences and the things that he taught me through those 4 years were just like unbelievable. And I thought about all that stuff when I was making the decision on what I wanted to do.
So it was in the back of your mind as you were still playing lacrosse.
Yep. And I was like, all right, so what am I going to do? My senior year comes around.
Is that, I'm sorry, when you started lifting too for lacrosse, so you had your first taste of lifting then?
Yeah, so freshman to senior year, I'd say like lifting wise, it was, because I did football as well, it was weight room training. It was like,
for the sport.
For the sport. The whole team went downstairs to the weight room and lifted. And most of lacrosse stuff wasn't really weightlifting. It was more cardio based, like sprints, suicides, all that stuff on the field. And so things like that. Lacrosse really wasn't, because you didn't want to get too big for lacrosse. Yeah. You needed endurance and speed. And that's what I was built for. For
the football, you were doing the weight conditioning. Did you like it then when you were doing it?
I wouldn't say I liked it. To be honest,
just a necessity.
I'll be straight up honest with you. I just wanted abs to impress girls.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's how a lot of guys get started.
I didn't want to be like looking at like bubbles of biceps, and like I thought that was kind of like weird looking. Like you don't want to be too big. Like people say now,
but you're too big.
Here I am now. Yeah, you're too big. I'm like, and that when I was younger, I was like, I don't want to get too big. I just want to go to the beach and have a little happy trail, have my abs going, like
and look hot. Yeah,
looking hot.
Yeah.
So
that's why you did it. But you played lacrosse and you were at a crossroads. You got to decide, what am I going to do in college? Lacrosse or something else, right? So you decided a certain way.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Like I didn't know anyone else in my graduating class that was joining. And I was like, I'm also the first person. I'd be the first person in my family to join. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. I was like, I thought about it. It was a very long thought process. I met with the recruiter and I got into the delayed entry program, which is basically when you're 17 or below 18, you have to have your parental consent to join. And I had to have my parents basically sign for me to join the Air Force.
Okay.
And without that, I couldn't join at 17 because I was actually 17 in August of 2013. So when I went to boot camp, I was 17 years old. I turned 18 years old at boot camp during it, the day we actually got gas, which was a great birthday present. Horrible experience, hated it, but joined and then was 18. And then, like you said earlier, my first real experience of getting into lifting was that following February when I first got to my first duty station, which is here in New Jersey at McGuire Air Force Base. And at first, I didn't really want to lift. There was nothing that was like, hey, I want to go lift.
How did you get to the gym? Did someone say, hey, let's go lift? Or what was that start like?
No, so at first it was like, I want to play lacrosse still. I was still in that mindset of like, I love lacrosse.
Even while you were on base?
I was, because I didn't play since that summer. I was like, oh, I miss it,
Oh, so it was a real passion of yours.
It was a huge passion of mine. And I looked into men's leagues and they're like $2,000, $1,500 for whatever's.
Like club outside.
Like a club, an adult club.
Yeah.
And with all that being said, I looked at it. I was like, I can't afford this. And secondly, even if I did just pinch the money through for it, I wouldn't make half of the games or practices because I'm a air crew member. I'm flying all the time.
Right.
So it's like I'd make 2 games out of like 10 and then go to like 4 practices out of 12. It's like, it wasn't worth it for me. So I was like, you know what? Let me at least stay in shape. So my dorm building, when I was living on base in the dorms as a brand new airman, the gym was down the street. So I was like, you know what? Let's just stay fit.
This was on the base or off base?
On base.
Okay.
Literally walking like a 5-minute walk from me. So I walked down the street and I was like, all right, cool. Again, same mindset. I got to keep the abs sharp and maybe get a little bicep action going. Curls for girls, if you know what I'm saying. And then one day I was just, like I said, I trained all upper body, did not hit legs once for a good 4 to 5 months straight. And then
that's how most guys start, all upper body and arms, right?
Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. I was going to bodybuilding.com to look up a workout from Steve Cook or something.
You and your buddy were doing this.
And random people, I'd meet there at the gym or were in the dorms with me, would come lift with me. I had no idea what I was doing. And then this one day, when this guy came up to me that would see me consistently, like, hey man, like you have a good frame. Like, you ever think about competing? Like, I know you're young and everything, but I was like, no, I never thought of it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I kept it in the back of my mind. And then he kept telling me over like next couple of months, he's like, you should do it. And then one day I actually was in there training upper body. And I think I lifted arms 2 days in a row. And someone came up to me. He's like, hey man, just so you know, like, and I think he was kind of being rude about it, but then like, it kind of made me feel bad. It kind of made me upset and pissed off. He's like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're just going to be a steak on chopsticks. And I like thought about what that meant for a second. And I was like, oh, so I'm just going to get big up top and then have these little twigs at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that really offended me because like, I hate like someone down talking me and like,
does that like always make you want to prove them wrong? Like, I'll show you.
I don't know. I've always been like into sports and being the best I can be when someone is like, just like comes up and straight, just like degrades me. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's interesting that you say that, Danny, because I've talked to a lot of athletes, right? Pro athletes that we sponsor and others, and almost down to a fault, they all share this same sort of mentality. You don't think I can do it? Well, fuck you. I'll show you. I'm going to prove you wrong. And that kind of mentality seems to exist in so many of the pro athletes. And it seems like you have that same attitude.
Yeah. I mean, at this time I was weighing 185 pounds. Like I said, no legs. My calves are bigger than my quads. So that was an issue. And I was like, you know what? Like you said, I was like, in my head, I was like, fuck you, man. Like, you kidding me? Like, I'm like at this time, 18-year-old kid, this like old 40-year-old overweight dude trying to tell me some shit. I'm like, okay, bro. So, but even so, what do you look like? And me being young, it stuck with me. And that really made me upset. So I actually deployed late that year. And I made it a point to where I was training legs 3 times a week, literally 3 times a week. I never forget that. 3 times a week going crazy. I started building foundation for my legs, getting better, and then came back, trained twice a week for my legs, and my legs started to develop.
Yeah.
And then like within a year and a half, you know, I kept my legs covered in sweatpants, and then I was like, one day I had some shorter shorts, and I wore them to the gym, and I'm like, "How you doing?" Like
The big reveal.
I was
right?
like,
the same guy who
I'm like,
criticized you,
look
right?
who's back. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm nothing crazy big yet, but my legs have come up a lot.
So you waited a year to do this.
Yeah, it was like finally, like it, I mean, I was very self-conscious. Like that thought of someone degrading me, like made me not want to wear shorts. You know, like I didn't want to go to the beach. Like my shorts were longer. I bought extra 2XL shorts because someone said that. You know, like
and you busted your ass to fix it.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not gonna let that. And now, like, you know, looking back now, like years later, it's like my legs and my quads, like one of my most dominant parts of my body, to blend in my physique. And it's like,
but that's how you got started.
But
and maybe your path to bodybuilding was that comment in the gym.
Yeah, and also having someone there from day one to look at me like, hey man, you have the frame, man. Why don't you do it? And I was like, and I thought about it for a while, and then you know, I went for it. But getting on stage is a very uncomfortable thing. At first, like all these lights around you. You're in this orangish brown stuff put all over your body, wearing like a freaking man bikini. But you know, when you work super hard for a certain amount of time, and people see it, people believe in you, and you believe in yourself, most importantly. And you're in the sport of bodybuilding, you have to showcase it.
Yeah, sure.
You have to go up there and be like, hey, this is me.
Yeah, that's a sport.
I own it. Yeah. Because especially if you're training for it. Like if you're spending so much time on your body and this and that, and you think you compete and you look insane. I always tell people, I'm like, dude, are you competing? Like not like, hey, I'm a meathead. Do you also compete as well? No, I genuinely think like you have a world-class physique. Like you need 6 weeks and you'd be ready to go. But yeah.
So have you ever thought about this question? You were so passionate about lacrosse, and that was sort of the dream, the vision you had that made you work as hard as you did, and probably made a lot of sacrifices for the sport, so that when it disappeared because you joined the Air Force, as you said, you were still looking for that outlet to play lacrosse because you still had that inner drive and inner passion. Did you ever think, bodybuilding, that will replace that passion I had for lacrosse?
Yep. So that's 2014 to now. I'll say like it literally, I never thought I'd ever say I love something more than I did lacrosse.
But you do.
I do.
Why is that? What was it about lacrosse you loved, and what is it about bodybuilding that makes you love it even more?
Lacrosse, it was, I don't know. I feel like I worked so hard in school to get into a good college. I kept my grades at the highest I could possible, 3.9 and above and whatever. And I felt like lacrosse was my gateway of de-stressing from being so active in my grades. My parents were very strict on me. So it was like lacrosse. And I'm not saying I wasn't really good at a lot of things, but I wasn't popular in high school and have a lot of friends. But lacrosse, for some reason, I picked the stick up in middle school and then in high school, and I was good at it. And I was real good at it. And on weekends, I would go practice it. My friends would be going to parties. I'd be at the high school shooting, or they'd be out like at the beach. I'd be at my high school shooting lacrosse balls at a goal, like something I was good at. And I felt like I can go to the next level with. And I thought about that for a long time. I was like, I'm going to be a Division I athlete, and I'm going to make my parents proud and make myself proud because I can do it. Because I didn't want to just be a lacrosse, but I want to be the best.
Yeah,
and because anything I do, whether put me in a checkers league, put me in a chess league with old men, I will cream those old men at chess if I want it. If I really put my mind to it.
Yeah, and if you replaced every time you use lacrosse with bodybuilding, it'd be the same story. You skip going to parties in high school, you skip this and you skip that because you knew you had to make a sacrifice if you wanted to be the best at this thing. And that's like bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, like you said, with the whole sacrifice thing, like my friends would be doing stupid things on weekends, and I would be literally at my high school at the wall, hitting a ball to the wall in my left hand, my weak hand, and getting it stronger, sacrificing my time to make myself better at lacrosse. Here in bodybuilding, My friends were like, hey, you want to go to the shore on a Friday night and just get drunk, get fucked up? I'm like, nah, man, like that's like prime time. The gym's going to be completely empty. I have time to make a little bit of my extra meals for Sunday. And it's like stuff that normal people don't do on a Friday, I'm doing, because honestly, a Friday night for me, training in a gym alone, maybe with my gym partner, and going home and binge watching Netflix is a lot happier to me than wasting $200 at Morgan's Pier in Jersey.
So do you think you're just hardwired this way, or you learned it somewhere? In other words, this desire to be the best, whether it was in lacrosse and now bodybuilding, or to be the best officer or anything like that, is it hardwired in you, or do you think you developed it, and can other people develop it, do you think?
I don't think I always had this hardwired-ism, you can say, in me, because I was always very timid and shy. I think I taught myself how to be this way because it is better for me, and it can show other people that they can do the same thing if they really take the time and put effort into something. Because if I wasn't wired the way I am, if I wasn't wired the way I am with my work, I wouldn't, or if I wasn't wired the way I am with bodybuilding, I wouldn't look the way I do. I wouldn't progress in my career the way I do. I wouldn't have the respect from people the way I do. And a lot of it was self-taught, the self-confidence, the way I talk to people, the way I communicate to my family, the way I communicate with my friends, followers, fans, all that stuff. It's so important overall as a person, because then people look at you like, hey man, this kid has some drive. This kid is working. Not only does he bust his ass, when he's doing his job, which he seems so happy doing, but then he gets off of a really long flight or a mission where he's overseas and had no sleep. And guess what? What is he doing? He has no meals, no sleep, barely any energy left. And he's training and he's posting a video on his story about it.
Yeah.
I think when people see that stuff, it pushes them. And that makes me feel so good about myself, because I know that if I'm running on no sleep, I have no energy, minuscule meals, and I just flew for 8 hours across the ocean, and I'm at a random place I've never been at, and I find a gym, dead tired. No one's even at the gym. Maybe it's not even open, or at a hotel room, and I'm training for myself. That feels good. But the reason I put on my story, or I'll put it on a post, isn't for people to be in awe of me. It's to tell people that I don't care how long your day is. I don't care what you've done today. If you want something bad enough, you will make time for it. It will suck. It will make you feel even like more tired after the fact, and you may even pass out or throw up during it, whatever it is. Yeah. But if you want something bad enough, you'll make time to be able to do it. And that's the way I'm wired. I don't care what the circumstances. I don't care what time zone I'm in. If I want something, if I have something set up, scheduled in my mind, unless I get injured or something family matter happens, I'm going to be there and doing it. It's just how I am.
Yeah, well, I think, Danny, this is one of the reasons why, in many ways, you are such an ideal animal athlete, right? Because here at Animal, we have 3 cornerstones that are important to us. One is education, this idea of sharing knowledge. Another one is motivation, getting people to act and change their lives. And the third is inspiration, getting people to feel powerful or strong or elevating. And what you're talking about is really all 3 of those at once when you post on Instagram or whatever. And that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So let me come back to this one question. You said today bodybuilding is a greater passion than lacrosse ever was. Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like lacrosse made me a better hardworking individual out of sport, and it made me want to become a very hardworking college student athlete per se. But bodybuilding has made me a better person.
How so?
It's hard to put into words, because for me, bodybuilding isn't just, a sculpted physique and,
I agree.
trophy winning.
It's a process.
It's not, it's just the experience I've had through bodybuilding and the people I've met and what I've been able to do for myself and others through it is just something that's just like, honest to God, so humbling. It makes me feel so good. And it's really, I don't talk about it much. I don't post about it because it's, sometimes I feel corny about it, but I'll be honest with you, like what I've been able to do for myself, yes, my physique has altered insanely in the last, since 2014. That's great. I look better. Awesome. Good job, Dan. But more importantly, like through me being better, I've been able to reach out to people via social media, whatever, in person, and people come up to you, whether however old they are, however what their goal is, they're like, hey man, like, you motivated me today. Or they'll reach out through a social media post like, hey man, like what you said today really inspired me. To be able to reach out just by doing what I'm doing. So just showing people, hey, this is my chest workout, try this. And someone reaching out and being able to know that they benefited from that, that's like huge to me. And not only on the workout aspect, but sometimes I post a lot of these videos of just me talking, and it's just my thoughts. It's just an 8-minute clip of me rambling on about, respect or sacrifice, like random topics that I feel like are in my head. And a lot of these times it's just like helping you get through your day, because some people need to hear that stuff. And the biggest messages that I feel are so important to me, and where these, especially veteran community wise, is I'll get a long paragraph from this guy like, hey man, my name is so-and-so. I'm Army retired, service to this year's combat veteran. And I also use fitness to cope with a lot of my problems. And I have, PTSD, but I want to let you know, like, just listen to your post today helped me a lot, and it helped me push myself. So I just want to say thank you. And a simple message like that, literally overcomes and overtops any other message that I may receive. Whether it's complimenting how rounded my shoulders are, how big my biceps are. No, someone genuinely feeling helped and self-improved or motivated, inspired. It feels good. I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm so proud to say that. It feels so good to know that I'm not the biggest name. I'm not the biggest dude, but like my words can impact someone. My actions can impact someone in a positive way. Yeah, exactly. Because trust me, I fight the negatives too, but I try to pull the positive in me out for someone else so they can be better and overcome their own negativity. Yeah. So through bodybuilding, it's helped me become better physically. It's helped me be more self-confident. It's helped me make friends. It's helped me build a base of, you could say, fans, but people that actually come to me and are benefited through what I talk about. Yeah, and it's so awesome to know that Danny Jakab, you talk about, or you bring my Instagram up, like, oh, the American guy with the American tattoo on his sleeve or whatever. Like that guy's awesome. When I hear that stuff, it's great, because as much positivity I get the same amount of negativity. But I promise you that slim amount of positivity that's inspirational, motivated, related, and self-improvement related that I get from someone will top any type of negative.
Because it will make a difference. And again, I said it earlier, which is that in many ways you're such an ideal animal athlete, because those are the things that are so important for us, right? We talk about this all the time here at Animal, which is we're all on a journey. And the journey takes us to different places. And it's about how we make progress one day, 1 inch at a time. And sometimes, you need a little boost. Yeah. And if that's why you do what you do, I get it 100% now why bodybuilding is so different. And you're absolutely right. I guess lacrosse didn't give you that opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives for that positive that bodybuilding does.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing. And I talk about all the time to, my family, because excuse me, even my friends and my family, some people I know back home, they're not crazy about it. They're not gung-ho about Danny being a bodybuilder. And I understand it. I respect it. I'm not going to argue with you like, hey, you're wrong, I'm right. Because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. All I can say and all I can show for it is, I was like, just watch one video of me talking. Like, you don't need to watch, I'll have a shirt on. You don't have to watch me flexing, posing. You don't watch that. Listen to a video of me actually talking about something that I'm passionate about. And I want you to go into my account, and I'll pull up my account, and I want you to read the responses I get to some of this stuff in my personal messages from these people. I was like, do you think I'm doing something good for these people? And they're like, dude, I never would have thought. Like, I thought you're just posting all this meathead stuff, all this
gotta get big, gotta train more.
And don't get me wrong, yeah, a lot of it is the posing, the videos, and because it's all part of bodybuilding. But there's like an underlying message behind all of it that I try to get across, is that through fitness, I've been able to, like I said, communicate. And my voice right now in life is actually being heard by a lot of people. Yeah. And it's making a difference. And like I said, it's not for me to feel special or feel like a lot of people know me, or it's not for, the self-loathing aspect. It's more of like, for me personally, just knowing, hey, someone out there is using this to their advantage and bettering themselves. I don't care if it's physically, I don't care if it's spiritually, I don't care if it's emotionally. If it's any of the three, I'm doing something right. You can say whatever you want about me. You can say whatever negative thing you want about me. But at the end of the day, I'm doing something I love and I'm helping people through it. So say whatever you want, but I'm happy doing what I do. And I will never stop unless something literally medically inhibits me from doing so.
Yeah. And you know what, Danny, I'd love to have you back again in the near future. There's so many things we can talk about. Like, how do you balance that? This pursuit of excellence in bodybuilding while managing an extremely tough and demanding career in the military. That's one question. And another one that you brought up earlier, that this desire to reach your potential, to getting to greatness can be learned. I'd love to pick your brains on how people can learn it. But for now, one last question about support. And that is, we talked at the beginning about support that's important for you when you're in the military, when you're deployed. In bodybuilding, is it the same kind of support that you're talking about that you see with the military, or is it a different kind of support that's important?
It's similar because you're still getting emotional support to make sure your sanity is at 100%. But it's just support where people are actually real with you, where people aren't just giving you compliments all the time. Because in bodybuilding, you can't progress and be good with everyone telling you how good you are. Because guess what? At the end of the day, those people telling you that are just like, they're making you feel better. They're not telling you the truth. I'd rather have someone tell me, a coach or a close friend, like, hey man, this area sucks, or this area. And that sounds bad, but that's them like giving you full honest feedback so you can improve. And those people that are giving you that honest feedback and that those critiques that are also close with you are making you better because they're letting you know what the issue is at hand. And they're supporting you with it. They're supporting you with bodybuilding because they're trying to help you fix the flaws that you have, so that when you get on stage, your rear delts don't suck as bad. Your quad sweep is coming in better. Your coach being hard on you, not letting you have a cheat meal. That sucks. It may suck. You're hungry, you're starving, but he's having your support. He's making sure that you are having the needs to go on stage and win shows. But also on the old end of the spectrum, again, having a couple of those close friends that are just like, they're listening to you about, hey man, like I have a crap workout, but like you want to go like have a smoothie or something or whatever it is. Like, man, it's just like, there's a difference between support in the military because it's, you're talking about the job and all that consists of. With bodybuilding, it's the workout, the fatigue, the muscle stress, the injuries that come with it. So if someone that understands that aspect in the bodybuilding community is extremely important, because you talk to someone, you think someone random on the streets can be like, hey, my rear delt is really tight. Any way I can loosen up? They're not going to know what to tell you. When you have someone in the bodybuilding community that you can go to support with, will tell you, hey man, try this exercise, try this stretch or whatever. So having that support is extremely important, because guess what? I know a lot about training and this and that. No professional, but I know a lot about it. But guess what? There's someone out there that knows a lot more. And if I could go to that person for support and help, I definitely will, because if it's going to improve my physique, that's all I need to do. That's the only way I'm going to go move forward, is making sure that I talk to anyone that can help me in any way possible. Because if they're going to be able to help me, I'll take all the support I can.
Yeah, and it's all about what you said, which is just moving forward, just one step at a time. Danny, it has been an honor talking to you today, and I absolutely hope you come back so we can explore some of those other topics that we talked about a little bit today. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me again, Phil. Appreciate it.
And this is Phil, Animal Mentality, signing off for this episode of the Animal Pakcast. Thanks a lot. Tune in again.